My sister-in-law got into a big company and wants me to leave. Her boyfriend tried to make a move on me but later claimed I seduced him. What's going on? I'm a shareholder in the company. Early on the weekend, I was surrounded by family asking about the situation. I didn't put my sister-in-law's clothes in the washing machine because I didn't see them in the corner of the sofa. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were not polite at all, rushing to blame me. Can't you do housework? Just take a look. Jenna Clark, are you doing this on purpose? I planned to wear this outfit today. Why didn't you wash it in advance? My son has no taste. He married you. As soon as my mother-in-law finished speaking, my son groggily walked out, complaining, "What are you all arguing about on a weekend morning? Bro, my sister-in-law is purposely not helping me with laundry, so I can't go on a date with Peter Thompson today." Lucy Johnson immediately vented to her brother. Peter Thompson was supposed to take me to buy a phone today, and I was going to let you use it. Really? William Johnson's eyes lit up. Then why aren't you going? I don't even have any nice clothes left. The sister-in-law pouted, glanced at me, and said, "Sister-in-law didn't wash my clothes at all." William Johnson shot me a glance and immediately transferred $1,000 to her, saying, "I'll give you the money to buy it." The grandmother beside us rubbed her hands in delight, saying, "It's still the brother who cares for his sister. Go on." The whole family joyfully sent Lucy Johnson out the door. Seeing them happily going downstairs, I took out my phone and texted my assistant, "Is there no feedback on Peter Thompson's report from last Friday?" "Yes, Ms. Jenna. The group office was supposed to receive the data before the end of work on Friday, but that team in the marketing department hasn't responded yet, and the office is pressing for it," the assistant replied somewhat unhappily. "Make sure Peter Thompson submits the data today, or I will consider adjusting his position." "Understood, Ms. Jenna." Seeing the assistant's reply, I felt very satisfied. Someone's phone might be disappointed today. Actually, I come from a wealthy family but have always kept a low profile. My family has protected me well. Everyone knows that Clark Group has my brother but not me. In college, I became infatuated with the seemingly honest William Johnson, determined to be with him despite my family's opposition. In the end, my parents compromised because of me but set a condition: I was not allowed to tell the Johnson family my identity, claiming it was a test for William Johnson. If he truly wanted to be with me, my parents would arrange everything in 2 years. At that time, I was in love with William Johnson, full of hope for the future. I readily accepted my parents' bet, confidently stating that they would definitely lose. Now, just over a year into marriage, reality has caught me off guard. After marriage, William Johnson brought his mother and sister-in-law to our rented place. The various trivial matters in our marriage made our relationship tense. He often blamed me, saying, "Can't you just get along with my mom? She's my family." At first, I thought it was my lack of understanding about marriage, so I worked hard to be a good wife, daughter-in-law, and sister-in-law. However, I found that no matter how hard I tried, if I missed washing their clothes just once, I would be scolded. Even if I made breakfast every day, if I was late just once, I would be criticized, and despite my careful care for my sister-in-law, I would still be blamed for not contributing money for something once in a while. Whenever they were in a bad mood, I became the target for their frustration. As time went by, I realized that sometimes, not being sincere doesn't necessarily lead to sincerity in return. It can instead attract a sense of irresponsibility. William Johnson's words made me fully understand this. He said, "Jenna Clark, if you hadn't pursued me, I wouldn't have been with you at all. I married you simply because my mom thought you were a college student who wouldn't ask for a bride price, cheap." I was so angry that my vision went black, finally realizing that he just wanted to save money to marry a wife all along. Now that he's married, he doesn't need to pretend anymore. Thankfully, I insisted on working at the company and didn't go back to being a full-time housewife. Otherwise, I might not even be able to go out to forage for wild vegetables now. William Johnson and the others think I run a small clothing store, but actually, it's a cover for my parents. I've been helping my brother manage the company. Lucy Johnson's new boyfriend is the team leader in the marketing department of a subsidiary. However, I haven't spent much time with them, and the lawyer is already preparing the divorce papers. Soon, Lucy Johnson came back looking downcast, and I was lying on the sofa, looking at her like a defeated rooster. "What's wrong? Did you buy a phone and come back so soon?" My mother-in-law immediately came over to ask. "Nothing. Peter Thompson left because of overtime," Lucy Johnson said unhappily, and when she turned around and saw me watching TV on the sofa, she rushed over to me. "It's all your fault for not helping me with the laundry. I couldn't keep Peter Thompson. What's wrong with her? It's never ending. I looked up at her carefully and said seriously, Lucy, clothes aren't important. My sister-in-law suggests you don't wear any next time. It will definitely catch his attention. You. Lucy Johnson blushed from what I said, but she couldn't speak for a long time. My mother-in-law angrily pointed at me and shouted, how can you talk to your sister like that? It's so uncivilized. Like a hen that can't lay eggs, you don't serve us and still dare to argue back. You're just asking for trouble. I stood up, struggling to understand how they could say such things. I quietly walked into Lucy Johnson's room, took all the clothes out of the wardrobe, then quickly went into the bathroom, locked the door, threw the clothes into the washing machine, and pressed the wash button. Lucy Johnson and my mother-in-law started banging on the bathroom door. I confirmed the clothes in the washing machine were wet, then suddenly opened the door, causing both of them to almost fall over. Serve you? I said coldly. If you really have a problem, go to a rehabilitation center. Don't come looking for me. Upon hearing this, Lucy Johnson became even more agitated. How dare you insult me? She rushed over to hit me, but I quickly dodged and slapped her back. The sound was crisp. Then, I pushed her hard to the ground, making sure she fell badly. Ouch! Lucy Johnson fell heavily to the ground, shouting angrily, today, I will make you pay. At that moment, my mother-in-law tried to help Lucy Johnson up while also wanting to hit me, causing the scene to become chaotic. William Johnson couldn't hold back any longer and walked out of the room. If he hadn't come out, I would have thought he couldn't hear us. Truly, this family is anything but normal. But I have to go. I can't waste any more time. I didn't want to deal with William Johnson, so I quickly ran out the door. Behind me, my mother-in-law shouted urgently, William, quick, catch her. She's hitting and cursing at us. Grab her. Kill her. It's not that easy to catch me, because my brother's car is waiting for me downstairs. If I weren't waiting for him to eat, I would have slipped away long ago. I can't stand being here for another day. Half an hour later, I was indulging in a feast at a high-end restaurant. My brother across from me looked at me with concern, poured me some water, and frowned, saying, Jenna, why not just lose a bit of money and get a divorce directly? Don't wait for the lawyer's opinion. I just finished a battle and I'm a bit hungry. I swallowed the last piece of foie gras and firmly refused. Why should I give them the money I've worked so hard to earn? Although my parents transferred my assets to protect me back then, I earned a decent salary while working at the company. I had been very frugal, especially since William Johnson's salary wasn't high, and I wanted to spend little for his pride. Over time, I surprisingly saved up a sum of money. Now that I'm getting a divorce, I have to split this money with him. How can I accept that? What makes me even angrier is that William Johnson not only treats my money as his own but also tips female streamers. We were supposed to split our assets, yet he might even make me bear some debt. I took a bite of my small bread, feeling agitated, thinking back to how young and naive I was to set up a family account. Now I can't even touch the money. Don't go back. Just stay with me. Anyway, we're getting a divorce, so there's no need to hide anymore. My brother, feeling sorry for me, firmly insisted I stay. It makes sense, since we're getting a divorce, why should I continue living a hard life? After lunch, I happily got into my brother's car, enjoying the relaxed life. Tomorrow, I can even ride with him to work, which puts me in a good mood. But just as I reached home, my phone rang. I looked, and it was William Johnson. I immediately hung up. A few seconds later, it rang again, still William Johnson, and I hung up again. Then a series of messages popped up. Jenna Clark, where have you been? Come back and apologize to my mom and sister. Bring some gifts, and I might consider forgiving you. Jenna Clark, you can't seriously think you're still a little girl, throwing tantrums and expecting someone to comfort you. Seeing those frustrating messages, I immediately blocked his contact. Does the universe want me to take on a heavy responsibility by sending annoying people to bother me first? After blocking William Johnson, I took a nice bath and had a nap at my brother's place. Living in a spacious apartment is so much more comfortable than a rental. I really don't understand how I could have stayed with William Johnson for so long. Out of frustration, I fully enjoyed the following weeks, eating well, drinking well, and living well at my brother's place, completely relishing it. After dinner on the couch, while looking at my phone, I suddenly saw Lucy Johnson's post. She was in professional attire, holding a coffee, smiling sweetly, with the caption, starting at Clark Group tomorrow, let's go, Lucy Johnson. I jumped up from the couch, thinking, Clark Group, the one I know? Upon reflection, the Johnson family hasn't contacted me in a while. What on earth did they do to Lucy Johnson these past weeks to get her into Clark Group? Can Lucy Johnson really make it into that company? I spent the whole night thinking, my mind racing, and eventually dozed off in a daze. When I woke up the next day, I had 2 big dark circles under my eyes. My brother was startled to see me and asked what happened. I said little, hurriedly got in the car, and went to the office. As soon as I entered the office, I called my assistant over and pointed to the intern list posted on the intranet, asking, how did this Lucy Johnson get in? The assistant replied, Ms. Jenna, she won first place in our creative competition. The more I listened, the more puzzled I became. I knew Lucy Johnson's capabilities very well. How could she possibly have won first place? What was her idea? Let me see. Ms. Jenna, please hold on. The assistant quickly retrieved all the entries from the participants. I carefully examined Lucy Johnson's proposal, and it was indeed a good idea, even quite professional. Could it be that I underestimated her before? But after looking at it, I felt that this proposal seemed somewhat familiar. Which department is she interning in now? Ms. Jenna, she is with team leader Peter Thompson. Team leader Peter Thompson specifically wanted to take her on. I thought for a moment and felt that this job might just be superficial. It could actually be about romance. I told my assistant, there's an intern welcome meeting this afternoon, make arrangements for us to attend. The assistant quickly made the arrangements. By noon, we arrived at the branch cafeteria, and as soon as we walked in, we ran into Lucy Johnson. Because I rarely make appearances, only the senior management of the branch knows me. My visit was quite sudden, so I didn't greet them. I originally wanted to have a quiet lunch, but unexpectedly ran into Lucy Johnson. She was surprised to see me, as if she'd seen a ghost. Jenna Clark, what are you doing here? The assistant wanted to speak, but I gestured for her to hold on. I smiled and asked Lucy Johnson, why can't I be here? Working here? Her eyes widened even more. How can you work here? What about your clothing store? I hadn't answered yet when she seemed to suddenly understand. The store closed, so you had to come out to work, right? Jenna Clark, you're an intern too, aren't you? At that moment, a male voice interrupted us. I turned to see a man standing beside us, though I hadn't noticed when he arrived. This is my team leader, Peter Thompson, you know him. Lucy Johnson quickly pulled Peter Thompson over. This is my sister-in-law, Jenna Clark. Peter Thompson's gaze swept over me a few times. Sister-in-law, Peter Thompson and I get along well. You're not that young anymore, so stop bouncing around. Build a good relationship with Peter Thompson. Maybe he can help you stay here and do some cleaning, like scrubbing toilets, Lucy Johnson said with a smug smile. Forget it, Lucy, you should just take care of yourself. I glanced at the two of them and turned to leave. Lucy Johnson said behind me, what are you pretending for? Let's see if you can get a permanent position this time. During lunch, Lucy Johnson was happily chatting with Peter Thompson at the next table, seeming quite pleased with herself. As soon as lunch ended, she hurriedly left. My assistant whispered in my ear, Ms. Jenna, I heard Lucy Johnson is going to represent the interns to speak this time. Oh, then let's go see it early. I only needed to appear at the end, but now I wanted to check it out. Entering the conference room, I saw Lucy Johnson surrounded by everyone, like a proud princess. Lucy, you're amazing, representing us to speak. Of course, Lucy is the first in our competition, both beautiful and smart. Team leader Peter also appreciates Lucy. Lucy, you have to say a few good words for us. I couldn't help but laugh. When did Peter Thompson care so much about human resources? He sounded quite authoritative. What are you laughing at? A girl looked at me curiously. Could it be the boss? Another seemingly quiet girl tugged at her shirt, signaling her to step back. She's just like us, an intern, just an older intern. Lucy Johnson shot me a glare, emphasizing the words older with a particularly heavy tone. No way, Lucy, I saw the announcement, and it seems she's not in any of the intern photos. A guy next to me asked, isn't she an intern? Could it be that her process isn't completed yet? Lucy Johnson looked a bit confused but quickly turned to me with determination. Is it because her process isn't completed yet that she rushed over to take a look? She's getting older, after all. Ms. Jenna, what are you doing here? As soon as Mr. Chin from the branch company arrived at the venue, he spotted me. Ms. Jenna, you arrived really early. I was still wondering about your car. He quickly brushed off the people around him and hurried over to greet me. Miss Jenna, you're too low-key. You always come and go by yourself, completely giving us no chance to host you. I don't want to disrupt your business. Hosting can indeed be quite a hassle. I understood their work pressure and didn't want to add to their burden. What's going on? Mr. Chen looked confused at the trembling people nearby, especially at the pale-faced Lucy Johnson. Just chatting with the interns to hear their new ideas. I smiled at Lucy Johnson and said, the reason I'm not on the announcement list is that my name is right there. I pointed my chin towards the podium to indicate they should look there. The colleague in charge of the meeting just arranged the name cards on the podium, and my name, Jenna Clark, is right in the center. The faces of those around me turned even paler, and Lucy Johnson tried to say something several times but couldn't get the words out. Prepare well, I look forward to your wonderful performance. I was indeed encouraging them, after all, they are the future and hope of the company. But Lucy Johnson misunderstood my intentions, just biting her lip. The incident where she offended the headquarters leadership quickly spread within the company, and people gradually began to ignore her. Lucy Johnson suddenly went from being the center of attention to being neglected. Recently, I heard that Peter Thompson's temper towards her has worsened. He used to praise her but now scolds her over trivial matters. I didn't have time to pay attention to this because her brother came looking for me again. Jenna Clark, how could you deceive me? When did you become the president of Clark Group? Just after work, I was stopped by William Johnson at the company entrance. What does it have to do with you? Get lost! I had been working overtime until late and was already very tired, filled with resentment. Hiding my job title isn't illegal. What does it have to do with you? Everything you have is because of my hard work. Have you ever asked me if my job is hard? Can't I do 2 jobs? If you cared a little, you would understand my feelings. I replied, raising my voice. William Johnson was momentarily stunned, paused for a moment, then said gently, Jenna, I was wrong before, I didn't pay enough attention to you. I understand your importance now. Can you come back? Let's live well together. Live well? With me, or with Ms. Jenna? I scoffed. William Johnson suddenly knelt down, his voice trembling. Jenna, I know it's hard for you to forgive me. Before, I knelt on one knee and promised to make you happy, but I failed. Now I'm kneeling on both knees, hoping you will give me another chance. What do you want? Don't pressure me like this. I have no responsibility. I avoided his kneeling direction and said coldly, Jenna, come home for dinner this weekend. You haven't been home in a long time, and I really miss you every day when I see the things you've left behind. William Johnson looked up at me with hopeful eyes, his voice gentle. Okay, I promise. After some thought, I agreed to his request, but not because I was moved, it was because I had left those expensive custom clothes behind when I hurriedly left their home. I didn't want to let them have it cheaply. I had to get them back before they noticed. William Johnson waits for me at the entrance of the office every night, showing up on time even if I ignore him. Today, I heard from my assistant that Peter Thompson and Lucy Johnson have reconciled and returned to how they used to be. My assistant hesitantly told me, Miss Jenna, I heard you are Lucy Johnson's sister-in-law. I put down my pen and stared at her. She looked a bit flustered and quickly said, that's clearly a rumor. How could someone as outstanding as Miss Jenna marry her brother? I actually did marry him, I interrupted, watching her freeze in shock. The partner Miss Jenna chose must be extraordinary, it's a match made in heaven. The assistant immediately changed her tone, but she will be leaving soon. Clearly, a not-so-bright boss is testing my eloquence. It seems William Johnson is inviting me to dinner this weekend, possibly on behalf of the Johnson family to plead for Lucy Johnson, since I am now her boss. The weekend is approaching, and William Johnson specially sent me photos of the seafood he bought, urging me to give him a chance. I'm amazed that now they need me, they have become generous. Previously, when I treated them to seafood, they were dissatisfied with me, but upon seeing Peter Thompson at the entrance, I realized this meal involves the interests of many. Peter Thompson smiled brightly upon seeing me, but Lucy Johnson next to him remained cold. Peter Thompson glanced at her and invited me to the main seat. After we finish eating, I'll take my things. Once everyone was seated, I spoke first, clarifying my intentions to prevent any misunderstandings. William Johnson and his mother changed expressions, and William Johnson cautiously asked, Jenna, are you still angry? Didn't we make up? I was somewhat surprised. When did we make up? Peter Thompson interrupted with a smile. Sister-in-law is still angry. Let's eat first. Let's eat first. Family members shouldn't argue. We're not family. I'm here today to clarify things with you. William Johnson, the divorce agreement will be sent over soon. I slowly put down my chopsticks, looking at this husband who once brought me joy but now left me utterly disappointed. Jenna, William Johnson started to speak but was interrupted by his mother. Divorce? Don't even think about it. Jenna, you've wasted so many years of our William Johnson's life without giving him a child, and now you want to leave? It's not that simple. His mother scoffed coldly, her face filled with resentment. You first deceived us, and now you want to shake us off. Either come back to live together or pay a $3 million breakup fee. $3 million? That's quite a bold demand. Lucy Johnson beside her gasped in surprise, and seeing Peter Thompson's displeased expression, quickly stood up to pull her mother. Mom, that's too much. This is my sister-in-law. In the future, I will need her support for my work with Peter Thompson, right, sister-in-law? As she dragged her mother into the room, she continued speaking, but her mother-in-law remained unhappy, muttering, either give money. Peter Thompson's eyes flickered as he asked, Sister-in-law, do you really want a divorce? I nodded, looking at William Johnson without mercy. Your family's feng shui is bad. You can't support me, your money tree. Jenna, are you really that heartless? William Johnson's tone became cold. William Johnson, if you really care about me, why didn't you refute what your mother just said? If you truly had me in your heart, we wouldn't have so many people dining together. To you, I'm just a tool. I bluntly finished speaking and turned to go back to my room to pack my things. Jenna Clark, you will regret this. William Johnson suddenly slammed the table, stood up, and shouted, Don't think you can do whatever you want at Clark Group. It might be you who gets kicked out. Peter Thompson hurriedly stopped William Johnson and apologized to me. Ms. Jenna, you handle it as you see fit. I'll take care of things here afterward. William Johnson angrily asked, Peter Thompson, what do you mean? Calm down, big brother. I didn't want to hear any more of this family's unreasonable talk, so I quickly packed my bags, opened the door, and left. As I was leaving, I saw through the crack in the door that Peter Thompson was trying hard to stop William Johnson from rushing out. Early Monday morning, the headquarters notified us that there would be a training session in the afternoon, and the branch office needed to send someone, with Peter Thompson being one of them. Unexpectedly, after the meeting, Peter Thompson took the initiative to come talk to me about the business. I didn't want to pay him any attention, but then I remembered how he helped me stop William Johnson that day. Although it seemed flattering, he did help me. I didn't expect that my good intentions would almost bring trouble to myself. Peter Thompson was very knowledgeable about his field and had unique insights, which I found quite interesting. Before I knew it, we were talking until it got dark. Miss Jenna, let me take you home, Peter Thompson said, looking very happy and gazing at me eagerly. No need, you should go back. I have a driver coming to pick me up. I waved my hand. After all, he was Lucy Johnson's boyfriend, and I didn't want to cause any trouble. Miss Jenna, it's fine, I'm on the way, he insisted, his expression looking eager. No, thank you, I refused repeatedly, and his face showed disappointment, making me feel he seemed a bit opportunistic and eager for results. As night fell and everyone finished work, I was the only one left in the office. After Peter Thompson left, I called my brother, only to find out he was still working late. I immediately asked him to treat me to dinner as compensation for my overtime pay. Feeling pleased that I could take advantage of him, I happily went to the bathroom, thinking about what to eat later. Suddenly, a figure rushed in, and I was taken aback. Who else was still here? Ms. Jenna. Peter Thompson? I was a bit surprised and looked around to confirm this was the women's restroom. So I reminded him, you're in the wrong place, this is the ladies' room. But Peter Thompson approached me with a sinister smile, saying, Ms. Jenna, you actually have feelings for me too, don't you? What are you talking about? I warned him alertly, don't mess around, this is the company, and there are cameras everywhere. Ms. Jenna, once we get this done, will you still be so loud? Do you want everyone to know you were with me, Peter Thompson, in the restroom? Peter Thompson stepped closer, lunging at me. Jenna, I'll just say you and I were willing in the restroom. Peter Thompson suddenly grabbed me, and I couldn't get my phone out. What are you doing? At that moment, someone burst in, pulled Peter Thompson away, and punched him hard. After being hit, Peter Thompson covered his head and fled. Brother? I wiped my nose in tears before seeing the person in front of me clearly. Brother! I rushed over, and he, with a pained expression, draped his coat over me, gritting his teeth as he said, "I will make him pay." After that, he held me in his arms and gently tugged at my clothes. I was in tears as my brother helped me out of the restroom, completely unaware that someone was secretly taking photos. The next day, I didn't go to work and stayed home to rest. Just as I was struggling to move past the shadows of last night, my assistant frantically messaged me, "Ms. Jenna, something happened. Someone is posting your and Mr. Jack's photos at the company entrance." Then, they sent 3 pictures. The photos captured the moment when my brother was supporting me, and they were enlarged and posted at the company entrance. My hair was messy, I was unsteady on my feet, wearing an ill-fitting coat, and being held by my brother. "Everyone is saying you are Mr. Jack's mistress, that you were in the restroom with Mr. Jack last night." I was instantly stunned. Only Peter Thompson could have taken such photos. He was the only one on that floor that day. "Have the surveillance footage been checked?" I immediately asked my assistant. Mr. Jack came early this morning to handle this matter. He checked the surveillance footage, but there were blind spots. He only saw a masked person passing through, dressed in all black, making it impossible to identify them. I was secretly furious and wanted revenge. Soon after, William Johnson came to cause a scene in the afternoon. In the video taken by the assistant, William Johnson was shouting at the company entrance, "Jenna Clark, you disgraceful woman, how could you cheat?" Meanwhile, my mother-in-law was crying on the ground. "Our Johnson family is truly unfortunate to have such a shameful person." I was seething with anger and jumped out of bed. "Uncle Goo, get the car ready. I'm going to the company." I quickly arrived at the company, where the security was trying to drive William Johnson and his mother away, but they clearly weren't easy to deal with. When they saw me get out of the car, they immediately started shouting again, "You are truly an adulterous couple. Jenna Clark, no wonder you've been so arrogant at home. Turns out you've been fooling around with someone else all along. Jenna Clark, our Johnson family no longer wants you, divorce, and you owe my son compensation for emotional distress." I felt helpless and angry, but I couldn't help but laugh. "William Johnson, your family is like leeches. When will you be satisfied?" William Johnson rushed over but was stopped by the security. "William Johnson, do you want me to expose your family's dirty laundry? You weren't like this when you begged me to come back." "Jenna Clark, don't say anything." William Johnson shouted angrily, "You cheated first. What did I do wrong? Even if I keep a mistress, it's better than you being with someone else." "Oh, you keep a mistress?" I immediately seized on that key point. William Johnson's face showed a flicker of panic as he angrily shouted, "I was mocking you, can't you understand?" I understood his meaning. William Johnson's reaction was very odd. Often, careless words reveal true thoughts. "Jenna Clark, divorce. You leave with nothing, and pay up." William Johnson's mother, seeing him blocked by me, couldn't help but shout, "My son is blind. With so many choices, he still likes you. You really have no conscience." I said to my assistant, "Go call Lucy Johnson down. Don't let her family cause trouble at the company." You despicable." William Johnson's mother immediately fell silent, only daring to mutter accusations at me. "You're shameless. Don't drag Lucy down." William Johnson also didn't dare to approach me again. Drag down? They worry about their good sister and good daughter facing trouble. After all your shouting, how could she possibly come over to check? I find it ridiculous. They really think Lucy Johnson has that much power. Too busy to come? The two of them stayed there. I glanced at them, and now I have to quickly contact a lawyer to thoroughly investigate William Johnson. Sure enough, the lawyer didn't disappoint me. He found out that William Johnson has been keeping a bar girl on the side, and that girl has been with him for several years, spending half of his salary on her every month. The girl recently got pregnant, and William Johnson's mother is eagerly asking for money, apparently for her grandson. It's shocking. Thanks to my ex-husband's support, my divorce process has sped up. Peter Thompson was fired and has faced multiple blows from my brother. The whole industry is blacklisting him. Meanwhile, Lucy Johnson seems very flustered at the company. My divorce is nearing its final stage, and Dad is very happy to hear it. He immediately handed over company affairs to someone else and went on vacation with Mom. Over the weekend, I received an invitation from my father's old friend, Uncle Thompson, who said he had a personal matter he needed my help with. This should have been my dad's business, but he's currently cozying up with my mom, naturally leaving me to attend in his place. "Jenna, can you really let Mom travel alone in loneliness?" My mom looked pitiful. That's when I understood why my brother had been so busy. He was still busy with my matters, and I didn't want to trouble him anymore. So now, I can only sit in the private room yawning, having arrived a bit early. Just as I was feeling bored, the door suddenly swung open. I thought it was Uncle Thompson, but to my surprise, Lucy Johnson and Peter Thompson walked in hand, followed by William Johnson. "What are you doing here?" The four of us exchanged glances, looking at each other. "Jenna Clark, did you get lost? This isn't where you should be," William Johnson said disgruntled. "Quickly check your private room and don't delay our business." "You should check which private room it is. After all, you've always been blind," I retorted defiantly. "Jenna Clark, do you have any shame? You tried to seduce Peter Thompson before, and now you're after Mr. Jack, even driving Peter Thompson out of the company. Don't think no one can handle you." Peter Thompson's cousin is a close friend of Clark Group's founder, Lou Siming. If he intervenes, Peter Thompson might return to Clark Group. Just wait to be kicked out by Mr. Jack. Lucy Johnson got angry, pointing at me and saying, "I seduce him? Peter Thompson, you're really a habitual offender." I looked at him. "Do you even have the face to say that? What are you talking about? Do you know Uncle Peter's capabilities?" He coldly said, "Just wait to leave the Clark Group." Lucy Johnson confidently looked at me and said, "Peter Thompson likes you, it's an honor. He says you seduced him, but where's the evidence?" The Clark Group listens to Lou Siming. "You're just an employee of the Clark Group, so don't overestimate yourself. Just leave quickly." "What's going on? Why so noisy?" The door was pushed open again, and Uncle Thompson entered. Seeing us standing, he smiled and said, "Everyone's here, please sit down." "Uncle Thompson, you're here." Peter Thompson happily approached him, and Lucy Johnson and William Johnson quickly followed to greet him. "You're here, how do you know each other?" Uncle Thompson looked at me and said, "Jenna, your dad handed the Clark Group to you, it must be tough." "Sit down, why are you three standing?" Uncle Thompson looked curiously at the three of them, whose faces looked very grim. Even the slowest could understand the implication of that last statement. "My dad handed the Clark Group to me." "Ms. Jenna, is she Uncle Lou's?" Peter Thompson tentatively asked, pointing at me. "Jenna, she's your Uncle Lou's daughter. You've met her at the Clark Group. No wonder you know each other." Uncle Thompson suddenly realized, slapping his thigh. "You mentioned on the phone that there was a misunderstanding with the Clark Group leadership and asked me for help. Now the highest leader of the Clark Group is here. Just tell me what happened?" I, Peter Thompson stammered, while Lucy Johnson and William Johnson felt utterly defeated. "The daughter of the Clark Group? Isn't the Clark Group only sons?" "He tried to do something bad to me. I spoke for the three of them, and it also involved stealing others' achievements." "What?" Uncle Thompson turned in shock to the pale-faced Peter Thompson. "What exactly did you do?" "I didn't, Uncle." Peter Thompson knelt down, gripping Uncle Thompson's clothes tightly. "We are distant relatives, and I thought I could help you because I've always seen you as smart since childhood. Just tell me the truth, what really happened?" Uncle Thompson shook off his hand and stepped back, asking sternly. "I didn't." "You didn't?" I snorted coldly. "Do you think the restroom has no surveillance?" That day, someone dropped a voice recorder that captured all our conversations. Also, Lucy Johnson's first place project was the idea stolen from your subordinate. Peter Thompson had nothing to say, biting his lip hard. Nyen Nyen, his subordinate, had used her work to plagiarize others' ideas. When Nyen Nyen confronted him, she brought a voice recorder that captured Peter Thompson's arrogant remarks. Unfortunately, the recorder fell into a gap in the restroom and was only discovered when the ad cleaned up. Evil deeds always come back to haunt you. The recording pen documented all the kickbacks, company information leaks, and bribery involving Peter Thompson since he started working. The company has reported it to the police, and Peter Thompson will soon be taken away for investigation. Sister-in-law. Lucy Johnson finally reacted, rushing over to grab me. "Sister-in-law, when you married my brother, I also spoke up for you, asking them to treat you better. It was my brother and my mom who didn't listen to me. I've always been forced by them." "Lucy, you." William Johnson looked at Lucy Johnson with anger and shock. "You're truly shameless. Mom and I have done everything for you. This is completely selfish behavior." "What are you saying? Just marrying a wife doesn't require fidelity, and you're fooling around outside." Lucy Johnson shouted loudly, and then the two started fighting, causing chaos. Uncle Thompson and I quickly called the police and hid to the side. Jenna, I didn't expect them to go this far. I'm sorry. Uncle Thompson apologized to me, his face red. I hurriedly shook my hand. He was clearly shocked by the situation as well. In the end, all three were taken away by the police. Peter Thompson was prosecuted, William Johnson lost everything due to his infidelity, and Lucy Johnson left the company. Peter Thompson's family relied on him for support, and there was a pregnant woman. Life was very tough. I'm lying in the villa at the resort. My parents don't want to go back, and I don't want to go back either. My brother is furious in the group chat, sending a message saying, if you don't come back soon, I'm quitting. I can't help but laugh. Bro, just hang in there. Nyen Nyen has already gone to bring you coffee. I love watching scenes where the domineering CEO falls for the delicate little bunny. How about I let Nyen Nyen go train at the branch office? I smirked and asked, do you dare? Don't come back. It's really annoying. The sun is shining, and a gentle breeze is blowing. I'm not annoyed at all.